And hello again, everybody. Joe Fiduccia back with another round of training for you. Today's discussion is going to be about the ribbon in Microsoft Office 2010. All of the previous discussions we've had so far and the tutorials that we've put onto our YouTube page have been focused on the Windows 7 platform. Today, we're going to start switching gears and get into the Office products. That would encompass programs like Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Access, and many other applications as well. In those applications, you're going to see something called the ribbon, which is this toolbar looking thing that goes along the top of all the programs. My goal for today is to simply give you some pointers about the ribbon. It doesn't matter which application you use the most. These are just some tips that will help you navigate through the ribbon, understand the ribbon's logic, and also customize it a little bit to your liking. Now keep in mind what we're using here today is the Excel application and the ribbon found across the top of Excel, but what we do here can be applied to all of the other Office products. So if you're a heavy Word user or PowerPoint user, same rules apply there as well. Let's start with the layout of the ribbon. Now the ribbon is organized by tabs. You'll see there's a Home tab, an Insert tab, a Page Layout tab, and these are all Excel specific, but every application will always be broken down by tabs, and within the tabs you will then see the corresponding tools. The one tab you'll spend the most amount of your time on, in the beginning anyway, is the Home tab. That's where a good majority of the tools you'll need for the application will be. For instance, the Home tab you can see on the left-hand side here has very common commands like cut, copy, and paste, and bold, italic, and underline. You have some formatting tools here as well. So the Home tab is where you typically want to start, and if you don't see what you need on the Home tab, you would then proceed to the other tabs to find the option you're looking for. Now returning back to the Home tab here, let's take a look right above those tabs. Above the tabs, you'll see a small toolbar here, and this is called the Quick Access Toolbar. The Quick Access Toolbar contains the tools you typically want quick access to all the time. Things like save and undo and print and things that we'll use on a regular daily basis. We will place up there into that toolbar. Now my toolbar on my computer has been customized. You can see a few extra icons here to the right. Normally these aren't there by default. Normally we only see a handful of icons like save, undo, and redo. In a little bit we'll demonstrate how we can add some buttons to that toolbar and customize your screen a bit further. Now zooming in just a bit closer here because we want to focus on a few specific areas of the ribbon, one of which are the groupings. We're right now on the Home tab of Excel, and you'll notice the Home tab is broken down by groups. There's a font group here towards the left-hand side. Then next to that we have our alignment group, and next to that we have our number group. And each group contains very common tools, but doesn't contain all of the tools. The way that we can see that is if you look on the bottom right of the groupings, you'll see these little launchers here. They look like little arrows pointing at an angle, and these launchers are the dialog box windows. This is what will open an additional window if we would like to use some tools. So if I don't see what I need here in the alignment group, I can click that little launcher here for the dialog box, and that will open up some extra tabs for alignment. And this will give me everything that I can possibly use, and when I'm done, I close the window down by clicking OK or just Xing out. So you'll see these little launchers here on the bottom right of many groupings, and sometimes you won't. If you look towards the right-hand side of the Styles group, there's nothing there. If we take a look at a few other tabs, you may not see them there either. You won't see any except for the Charts group of this Insert tab. If you go to the Page Layout tab, you'll see an option for the Page Setup dialog box here on the bottom right. Clicking this will open up a window that might look familiar, where you can adjust your margins and page settings for the document. If you don't see one of these little icons on the bottom right for a group, chances are you already have everything you need right in front of you. Now another thing we want to get used to with the ribbons of Office is the concept of a contextual tab. A contextual tab is simply a tab that appears based on your selection. Notice, for example, here, the last tab I see is the View tab up there in Excel. Now knowing that, let's go ahead and do something. I'm going to go ahead and click on the Insert tab, and I'm going to draw a very simple shape. I'm going to activate this star shape right here, and once I activate it, I'm just going to go ahead and click and drag on the worksheet here to draw a small shape. Now when I let go, notice what just happened in the ribbon. I now have an extra tab called Format. This is called a contextual tab. It's a tab that appears based on my selection. if I click away from that star object and go back into the spreadsheet, once I'm done on the star, the extra tab will go away. If I go back to the star and click on it, the new tab will reappear. This is Microsoft's way of removing the clutter and just showing us what it thinks we need. So one important thing to keep in mind is when you want to work on something, select it. Always click on it and then you will see the tools for it. Sometimes it's just one tab like we see here. Sometimes it might be 3 or even 4 tabs. It depends on what you select. But bottom line, click on an object to get the extra tools for that object. Now again, let's focus our attention up there to the top left of our screen where the Quick Access Toolbar is located here in Excel. The Quick Access Toolbar, as a reminder, is a place that we want quick access to things, and by default, most of the applications will only have a few buttons. You'll only see the Save button, the Undo, the Redo, but all of these other buttons you see on my screen, these are all customizations that I've made and buttons that I've personally added because these are things I use a lot. So one of the ways you can add buttons to your toolbar and customize it to your liking is to use the arrow that's directly to the right of the toolbar. That little arrow pointing down will open up a small menu of tools that you might be looking to add, such as the ability to quickly print something or do a spell check. So you may want to turn some of these on right away, and these are just the really common ones. There also might be other tools you'd like to add, and this being Microsoft, there are many ways of doing it, but here's a quick tip I can share with you about that. If I'm looking in the ribbon and I come across a tool that I know I'm going to want quick access to, I can quickly add it by doing the following. I'm going to go to the Insert tab, and our example today will be the Screenshot tool. Let's say I look at the Screenshot tool and say, you know what, I really like that. I want quick access to that. What you can do with any button in the ribbon anywhere is right-click on the button and choose Add to Quick Access Toolbar. Now when I do this, watch my little toolbar here towards the top of your screen, right in this vicinity towards the right of the toolbar. When I click Add to Quick Access, now I see another button that just got added. That button is for the Screenshot tool. And now I've permanently changed my window in Excel, so every time I launch the application, I've got quicker access to that tool. Removing it is also just as easy. If you'd like to take a button off the toolbar, right-click on it, and you'll see an option to remove the button from the Quick Access Toolbar. Finally, one more tab in the ribbon we haven't checked out yet is the File tab. That's the first tab we see up here on the top left of our screen. The File tab is what is also known as Backstage View. Backstage View is simply the behind-the-scenes things. Things like going into Save As and Open, or things like printing the file. This is where you can go to access many of those behind-the-scenes settings, or the things that don't directly involve the spreadsheet or the file, and that's again under the File tab called Backstage View. One of the questions I often get is whether or not we can access the tools of the ribbon with the keyboard. Getting them to the mouse is one thing, but there's plenty of people out there, including myself, who like to use keyboard shortcuts to access tools. If we'd like to access anything in the ribbon, you can do it with the keyboard, and here's a good way to get started. On the keyboard, you can use the Alt key, A-L-T, and when we press the Alt key, look at how the ribbon just lit up with a bunch of letters and numbers. Now, the way this works is we just continue following the letters and numbers as we see them. So maybe, for instance, I'm looking for something, and that something is located on the Data tab. Instead of clicking the tab, if I want to keep the flow of the keyboard going, I now press that corresponding letter, which in this case is the letter A. Once I press that letter, then that tab will light up with a bunch of letters corresponding to every single button I've got available. So maybe if what I'm looking for was the text columns feature, I can now press that letter, the letter E. And I've now learned that Alt-A-E, those three keys together, one after the other, will get me to the text to columns feature. And finally, just widening the screen out a bit for everybody, the ribbon is one of those things that takes up a lot of space. And if we want to give ourselves a little more space in the file that we're working with, we can collapse the ribbon. There are a couple ways to collapse the ribbon. Number one, if we look towards the top right of the screen, there's that blue question mark up there. Directly to its left is an arrow pointing up. That is the button that will collapse the ribbon. So once I click on this up arrow, the ribbon will actually disappear from the screen temporarily, just a way to hide it, and when we need it again, we can open it up from that same arrow. So you can collapse any ribbon in any application using that same thing, or if you'd like to see what the keyboard way is, just hover the mouse on that icon for a moment and you'll see it appear. See that little comment that just showed up where we can minimize the ribbon with Control and the F1 key. And that's a good tip to take away as well. When you hover over icons, not only will you get a brief description of them, but also a keyboard shortcut for them. Like filtering, for instance. If I hover over that filter button without clicking it yet, it'll not only tell me what it does, but you see that little description there with the keyboard shortcut right next to it. Control-Shift-L would access the filter. So it's a good way to also learn some of the other keyboard keys that are available simply by hovering over any button you have in the ribbon. In summary here, the ribbon is of course where we will spend a lot of our time in an application, but more importantly than that, our goal for today was to simply introduce some of the key elements you'll find in your ribbon. So don't forget that across all of the Microsoft Office products, you will have this quick access toolbar here that can be customized. You will have what's called Backstage View, which is also known as the File tab. You will then have all these different ribbon tabs that have individual groupings in them, and those groupings have little dialog box launchers we can open. You'll also have the contextual tabs that appear to the right-hand side of the View tab. So we've touched on a lot of information about the ribbon, all designed to simply get you oriented to it for those who may not feel comfortable with it just yet. We hope you found this tutorial helpful, and we promise to get into much more depth about the ribbon and about the Office applications real soon. Thank you for watching. I'll look forward to seeing you again.